Are people outside of the USA really laughing at Americans? Do we really appear that bad? Italian here. After seeing firsthand what the virus does, we don't feel like laughing. We're pretty freaking angry at those who don't want to wear masks, social distancing, and we're worried for the rest of you and us. If you end up bringing the virus in, we're still dealing with our own cases, some of which are in fact imported already by travelers. Australia here. More like looking on with confusion and horror. I'm in Melbourne and we have like 4,000 cases and have been locked down for forever and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Not sure what you guys are doing tbh. In Argentina, everyone I've spoken to think the US is a circus. When I've shown my friends videos of anti-maskers, they couldn't believe it was real. They thought it was some sort of parody or something. It's sadly not the case. We're not laughing at America. We're facepalming hard. I've got plenty of friends outside the US, Greece, UK, and the Netherlands. The answer is sort of. It's apparently like watching a train wreck that's on fire, or being the countries outside Australia in Mad Max. As a Canadian, it's like watching a car fire get too hot on your neighbor's driveway and you're like, please don't explode next to my house. Yes, we have PPL in Canada who are behaving the same, but most figures of authority are not behaving like yours. It's more cringy and embarrassing than anything else. Hi, mid-20s New Zealander here. I'm more concerned and scared than I am laughing. It's really sad and worrying to see how poorly America is handling the COVID crisis. I worry for my friends over there. America has a big effect on the rest of the Western world. I've seen NZ become more Americanized over my lifetime, with big American corporations getting more of a foothold here in the last decade. There's a lot that's really concerning to me about America. Things that have just become more clear as the veneer of being the best country of the West gets more and more cracked. The labor laws that are practically malicious towards employees. The insane level of overwork and underpay it seems like most Americans are facing. The deep-rooted racism that is boiling over hotter and hotter. The inequality inherent in the system starting to show. The level of corruption and money focus at the highest level of your politics. These things all scare me, and I don't want them to be if I'm ever laughing at America. It's that worried, nervous laughter. Great answer, though fairly sure only America thinks it's the greatest country in the West. As a fellow Westerner, not US, I would call it almost the worst country in the West as somewhere to consider moving to. I've visited twice. Great for tourism. Before COVID of course, but you couldn't pay me to live there, and that's before the Trump cluster frick started. Here in Germany I feel it's more like everyone is shaking their head in disbelief, laughing about at Trump and just hoping for the best for the everyday American. I feel like it's worth throwing out there that even when people say they are laughing, or mad or whatever at America, it isn't laughing at you. It's the government, the conspiracy theorists, the anti-maskers, the racists, etc. I've had to constantly remind myself not to group the whole population of America into what the media is displaying. It's not always easy since it's such a barrage, but just know that we know you aren't the problem and we aren't laughing at you. Thank you. As an American, I can tell you the craziest ones are always the loudest. The rest of us are keeping our masks on and our heads down and waiting until November. I think we would laugh at America a lot less if Trump got off Twitter. How anyone could support that person when you can access his Twitter on any computer or phone anywhere with data or internet is insane. He's like a less coherent Alex Jones that never left the 80s. He sounds like Alex Jones because he straight up repeats crap he heard on InfoWars. Australian, more specifically Melburnian. Here, currently the saying is at least we aren't like the US. Everything seems to be politically motivated over there. Like how the frick are masks a political statement? Are seatbelts political? Hard hats on a work site? It just seems common sense has gone out the window and it's all about whether you like red or blue. Insane that America is the leader of the free world. We're all screwed if we are to follow their example. Fox News and Rupert Murdoch, thanks a lot for him BTW, is what created this situation where everything is politically motivated. For decades he was trying to create this paranoid conservative base that lived by their politics and he succeeded. Being honest, it's more of a nervous laugh. deeply concerned and on the verge of full-blown panic mode. Aussie here. Most of the sentiment here is sheer horror and disbelief about what you're going through. So, lots of sympathy for people, but also the view your institutions are fricked. No universal healthcare, education based on your local tax district, the power your president has. We are sure as heck not perfect, but the fact we have better access to welfare, education and health services means we have the comfort of being able to respect the common good. I must admit, your Christian evangelicals and fundamentalists, and the hold they appear to have on your society, really freak me out. Also, apologies for Rupert Murdoch, sadly he is one of ours. Seriously, religion needs to be excluded from politics. It fricks so much crap up. From Canada, we are not laughing, we are frightened to see what's going on down south. It's beyond laughable. We need a wall. My brother put it the best when Trump got elected. He said it's like watching your neighbor set his house on fire. It's not your house, but it's really close by and the smoke is heading this way. That statement has only gotten more true since 2016, unfortunately. While I'm from the US, I frequently travel, mainly Canada and Europe, and when I say I'm from the US I get one of two reactions. 1. They laugh at me for being American. 2. They say sorry for me being American. That was pre-COVID. I can only imagine what the reactions are now. Canadian here. I used to travel for work a lot. Been to about 20 countries. People love Canadians worldwide. We don't bother other countries. Stay out of drama and are protected by the states. It's a good deal for us. Mexican here. Me and my friend's consensus in one sentence would be like, what the FCK dude, aren't you supposed to be better than us? Cause you are giving us a run for our money on handling badly this crisis. We say that laughing while worrying at the same time. In the Philippines we had 38k recoveries in a day due to mild and asymptomatic patients being reclassified as recovered, and the president is seriously recommending gasoline to disinfect face masks. Yeah, feels pretty SHT here too. Ah, I forgot about Updoot. Haven't heard about him in a while. Looks like Trump took his spotlight. Yes, I live in a third world country and it is painful to see how y'all waste your privilege. Also, so many Americans act like America is the center of the universe, and that just me laugh very hard. I'm from a small Southeast Asian country. No offense, but every time I watch any news from USA it's a mix of horror, helplessness, a slap in the forehead kind of move. How can this country produce some of the biggest and influential people and cinematography but remains stupid some of the time baffles me. A snake rots from the head, that's how. I would say 98% of the people I've talked to in my part of Canada say, oh my god, what is wrong with that country? I feel so bad for so many of the people there. We know roughly 1/2 of Americans are dope people who get lumped in. 1/4 are questionable. 1/8 are fricked up. And the 1/8 are so fricked up their fucked upness severely tarnishes the image of the whole country. But you government sure is a laughing stock. Oh my goodness gracious. A two-party system that demonize the other, and both parties are corrupt on every level, so nothing gets done. Canadian here. It's not really funny anymore since I know so many good Americans trying to make a change and survive in this country. It's mostly scary to look at. Yes, America looks that bad. Living in Japan, people think it's weird that Americans are having issues with wearing masks or even making it political to begin with. Never have I ever heard anyone here complain about wearing one. It's common sense. From the 60-year-old man working construction to the elementary school kid walking in the park with his family. Waves from the UK, yes, we are laughing at you. But it's a kind of horrified laugh because we aren't far behind in the ridiculousness stakes now. We also know that it's all our fault you've got as far away from the straight and narrow as you have, kind of like an errant illegitimate kid that we had in our teens and never managed to parent properly. We tried to ground you, you climbed out of your bedroom window, we stopped bothering once you started openly hanging around with that boyfriend with all the tattoos and went off to uni to do a degree in fine art that you didn't even finish because you went to live in Uruguay for 2 years with some M-heads. You've still got £40k in student loans though. We should have been stricter. We're sorry. So we are laughing, but probably more with you than at you at this stage. Are oddly specific. Canadian here. I'm not laughing at you. Honestly, reading American news these days makes me incredibly sad, sometimes to the point of tears. Your citizens are getting ill and dying at alarming rates, and your politicians are actively interfering with measures that could save lives. The politically charged conspiracy theories are absolutely baffling. It is really depressing and not funny to be an ordinary citizen in America right now. In Norway, we often call the US uncivilized, or a modern third world country. This has been a very rare thing before, but after 2016, the US gets discussed in almost every adult conversation with smiles and laughs. Our schadenfreude derives from your government and leadership, not the citizens. Norway stands with you and wishes you all a hasty recovery. I think it depends a lot on where exactly you're thinking about. Rest of the world is a little too broad. There are people, like in New Zealand, that have the right to laugh because they quite literally do everything better than everybody. And there are people who don't have time to even think about the US because there is a war going on where they live. Besides, outside opinion should not matter that much. You guys fight for the country you think you should have, not for the one others want you to be. And, if it has any meaning, I am from Brazil. The majority of people here aren't exactly laughing because all the problems you guys are going through are a reality here as well. Just to not get political, we have sympathy for all the parties involved. Some have to a side, others to the opposing one. But of course, there will always be the petty jerks who take any opportunity to bash at other places. Don't listen to those. They most likely are not aware of the problems that plague their own country. It's more that I feel really sad for you guys, but it's impossible not to watch. I feel like I'm witnessing history, but I'm not particularly laughing about it. I'm German. I'm more worried that your politics will ruin the future of all of us. So, not really laughing, more shocked and maybe disgusted. Coming from the UK, I also believe that the US is the biggest threat to world peace. China is up there too, but the US is so unpredictable. I am from New Zealand. I am definitely laughing at the Trump supporters and the anti-mask, anti-science people, but I do sympathize with those who listen to science but are stuck in a country where apparently no one else is. We definitely have our conspiracy theorists here as well. I'm just thankful they're not in positions of power like in the US. It's so crazy to me that some people totally disregard what Dr. Fauci says, because Trump's administration makes him out to be a fool, even though he's worked under several other presidents, both Democrats and Republicans, and has many proven achievements throughout his career. Inside the US, it's clear this country is a horrifying joke of a dumpster fire filled with willfully ignorant loons. How would it look better from the outside? I'm laughing, angry and scared at the same time. The fact that you made wearing masks a political thing is freaking hilarious, but also angering how some of you are ready to infect others just so you have your crappy freedom. Plus it's scary how the biggest country in the world is run by such an idiot and how they managed to have protests in the middle of a pandemic. I'm from Argentina. We laugh at how stupid and incompetent you seem to be while we try not to cry, knowing full well that our economy depends almost totally in the value of your coin, and that a bad day for Trump is usually a worse day for us. In media, it is easy to see proud displays of ignorance from your people. The most recent one, Argentinians can't be Latins because they are white. You are like Godzilla wearing a clown costume 4 sizes larger than he needs, capable of destroying us in a blink, but bizarre and totally ridiculous and so entangled with itself that we are pretty much sure you have no idea we exist. I laugh to cope with my anxiety about you. You are the world's biggest superpower, right on our southern border, and you're happily courting fascism. Tens of millions of you are poor and without options, but also too stupid to know who you should actually be mad at. I expect in my lifetime that we'll be swamped with American refugees, be they fleeing violence, pandemic, or climate. That's if your country doesn't turn full Hitler and steamroll us, or annihilate the rest of the world during the Second American Civil War. So yes, I'll laugh at you. So many of you are so stupid, but altogether you're freaking terrifying. What happened, America? You used to be cool. Unfortunately, social media hasn't been kind to America as the rest of the world is flooded with the worst example of Americans. I know every country has these types, but sheer weight of numbers overrides the rest of us. You got lots of peoples. I very much thought very negatively about you guys for a long time, but thankfully Reddit, believe it or not, has shown me that there are a lot of intelligent, thoughtful humans living there, and one day I'd like to visit your beautiful country. Yup, the idiots here are always the loudest. I hope we get our crap together in spite of them and will welcome you with open arms. Not really laughing, more hoping you infect yourself with a little socialism like free healthcare and free education. It would boost the world. I'm from Bermuda, and honestly we have to laugh sometimes to keep from crying or just being angry in general. Since America is our closest neighbors and we get almost everything from there, and travel through the country, we honestly just look on in fear at some of the things that happen, and in anger as well. Generally we're like, what the frick? From Australia, yes. Perhaps not laughing so much as shaking our heads in disbelief. It's hard not to when US president is a morally bankrupt egomaniacal imbecile. The American obsession with individual liberties is seen as selfish and childish, and so many problems. For example, gun violence, have such obviously simple solutions but they're never implemented. I could go on, but I'll be concise on some of the other things that make people look at America in disbelief. Guns, no universal healthcare, non-compulsory voting, first past the post voting, the Electoral College, capital punishment, Fox News. Of course, there are Australians who support lots of the above too, but they wouldn't be the majority. In general, I think that most of us can't see how Americans can still cling to the notion of American exceptionalism, when nothing about the US seems that exceptional. In my country, Denmark, we often see the general American as stupid, but this has been the case for some time. Your county's view on education and healthcare is downright stupid to us. I do know you pay a fraction of what we do in taxes, but the arguments I see is selfish and ridiculous. I wouldn't say laughing, more worried. Personally, in India, I feel we are in a state similar to yours, so the feeling I have is more like, oh crap, they're in the same boat. At least we have strict lockdown. Not laughing anymore, just reeling back in terror. I mean, we have problems in Australia, but you guys have redefined a bunch of standards of just how poorly things can be done. Here in Asia country, we joke, oh look, USA really tried their best to be number one in everything. Or, rah, number one USA is still ongoing. Though, wish you guys luck, my country is going through second wave. Short story, our school had a transfer student from USA named Savannah. Right before 2 weeks my country decided we need to get on full lockdown. By Friday, 1 week before the lockdown, everyone is whispering, why is she still here? Don't she know she should go home ASAP? I heard a lot of planes cancelled nowadays, but nobody is brave enough to deliver such a heavy news. Luckily she went home right a few days before the full lockdown started, else she gonna get stuck in our country, a barely adult, by herself for months in foreign country. I feel bad. I don't think she enjoyed the short trip. We are busy panicking about lockdown to even pay attention to her. Everyone is panicking, afraid their parents would lost their job and such. I'm American living in Canada, however all my family still lives in the States. People here are definitely shaming and laughing. I personally are devastated and wish more than anything that my immunocompromised mother could live here and not fricking Phoenix, Arizona. Frick you guys. Canada, here we often joke that the defining part of the Canadian identity culture is that we are very proud of not being American. I wouldn't say we necessarily find what is happening in America constantly funny. It's a mix between being super disdainful towards Americans and being really sad for you guys. Individual Americans generally aren't super looked down upon, but rather your institutions, political systems, massive businesses, endless corruption, are very disliked around here. Note that Canada has our own versions of these problems. We're just less in your face about it. In general, we do also feel really sorry for all you normal Americans. Canadians and Americans are very similar geographically, culturally, etc., so it's really easy to picture being in your shoes. When injustices are happening in your country, it is really devastating to see. Look, I'm saying this with full knowledge and acceptance that Australia we have our issues were far from perfect. But dang, Kind of sorry bro. The handling of COVID and seeing the sheer willpower of denial very unsettling. Again, not saying we're perfect and we don't have COVID deniers and our own issues with serious systemic racial oppression. But like you, the healthcare system you guys have shakes me to my core. Like you can't just go to hospital if you can't afford it. Oversimplified. People surviving this virus and then getting hit with $1,000,000 medical bills. Like what the frick? I'm inside the USA, and I'm laughing at Americans. Do you really blame them for laughing at us? Have you looked around? Yes, people here were idolizing Americans before the pandemic, but now we saw how stupid they handle a pandemic. Gosh, I hope 98% of you are okay. I don't know why you think it's just the pandemic handling. It goes way beyond that. I'd like to ask the people from the US what they think the American dream is at this point. I heard from another US citizen that the dream is not entirely dead. I'd like to ask, what is the American dream today? What can I do in the US that is not possible elsewhere? Buying a shitton of guns? Having healthcare debt? The American dream has never been more than capitalist propaganda, lol. Anyone thinking otherwise has just fallen for the trap. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.